Rashwan, Maya, Zaharul, Danielle, Mariam, Luigi, Kareem, Minna, Mirna, Nada, Besant, Peter, Summer, Shahd Tamim, Mashali, Yauta, Matar, Hamid, Minna, Minna is repeated, I think, Omar, Salma.
Hello, Mr.
Morning, Matar. So guys, there are, I think, 21 or 22 students, 6 people who haven't joined yet. So Farah, Shahid Ibrahim. Okay. So there are 23 so far. We're still waiting for 4 people to join. I think Peter and Danielle. Peter is in the room now. Danielle is in the room. Okay. I'll share the screen.
Mister, you saw me, right?
Yeah, excuse me?
I'm Yauta, Mister. I'm just making sure you see me.
Yes, I wrote your name down. Okay. So in the
Okay,
first
thank you.
session, Abul
Mr. Me too.
only absentee. Okay, Abul Farh was the only absentee, although some people joined us at the end of the session, but they gave me plausible excuses, and I believe them. Okay, we are still waiting for 4 people, but we're gonna start soon. So we ended the first session discussing this point. The last question was, if you are on a bus, sorry, nowadays traveling a long distance, and you ask one of the passengers is an engineer, what type of story, and you ask him or her to tell a story, what type of story would he or she tell? Minna said a story about a project he or she made. Type. Can you name any other character or any other job? A job on the bus. Jana Subh. Jana. Jana joined us. Hania. Jana Hania. Okay. Type. Can you name any other job, guys? Any other job, any modern job. In the past, they didn't have graphic designers. They didn't have, let's say, video editors. They didn't have YouTubers. Imagine there is a YouTuber on the bus with you. What would he or she, or what type of story would he or she tell, or your own ideas? I have 3 raised hands. Mariam. Mariam.
So like I actually have a graphic designer friend.
Okay.
She's responsible to like do logos for brands and such, and she told me about the kind of stuff that happens to her, like how she can work on a project for like a few weeks, and after then the client will come and tell her that they don't like the design and that she has to do it all
Yeah.
over again.
Okay, so the idea is similar to Minna's. She can tell us about a story that happened to her in her job. She designed a specific design, and the client or didn't like what she did. Okay, Peter, thank you, Mary. Peter, you were raising your hand.
Uh,
Raise your voice, please.
if a YouTuber sitting next to me in the bus.
Mm?
He will tell a story about how he makes his videos and the ideas of his content, how he gets his ideas.
Okay, Tab, I think, guys, all of us, hope to be YouTubers. Am I right? Yani all the people in the room now want to be YouTubers. I myself want to be a successful YouTuber, okay? Or I wish to be one day. And we all think that YouTubers, especially famous ones, are happy. Do you think they all are happy? If you have, let's say, 3 or 4 million followers or subscribers, do you think such people who get much money from the internet or from being YouTubers lead a happy life?
Most of them, yes.
Most of them, yes.
No,
Danielle has
no,
another opinion.
because they only show us their happy life, not all their life. Yeah.
Yes, okay, maybe. Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Mariam. Okay, let's move on to the author in depth. We'll talk about Geoffrey Chaucer. You know, the word Geoffrey can be spelled with a J or a G, as you can see it here, and this O can be deleted. We can spell it with E only without this O. Okay, and it has some different spellings. Son of a merchant, his father was a merchant. He was a page in a royal house. You know, a page. Who can define the word page here as job? You see it often in ancient or medieval plays and novels. A page. Does anyone know a page? Okay, a page is a young boy who works as a servant to an important person, a noble person, a man or a woman, and this page may be in the future will be a noble person himself. Yani a page is like a trainee who is serving or who serves a noble, and he himself will be a noble in the future most of the time. So, sorry. But Chaucer started his life as a page in a royal house. He was the servant of an important man or an important woman. Then he became a soldier, then a diplomat, and a royal clerk. Geoffrey Chaucer saw quite a bit of the medieval world. So why? Because he had many jobs. Like again, Kiki entered the room. Kiki, okay. So the man was a page, started his life as a page, a soldier, diplomat, and a royal clerk. So because he did many jobs or different jobs, he saw quite a bit of the medieval world. His varied experiences helped prepare him to write the Canterbury Tales. During these different jobs, he met different people from different walks of life, different social backgrounds, different characters and personalities, and he became experienced in the medieval world or in the life in the medieval world. This masterpiece, talking about the Canterbury Tales, his book, provide the best contemporary picture we have of 14th century. As we said before, the man lived in 13 something, which is the 14th century England, gathering characters from different walks of life, from different backgrounds of life. Chaucer takes the reader on a journey through medieval society. Okay, from the Canterbury Tales, we know about the pardoner, about the doctor at that time, about the wife of Bath, as we will see later. The poet's beginning, the exact date of Geoffrey Chaucer's birth is unknown. Okay, but official records furnish many details of his active life. Born into a middle-class family, we know this about him. Chaucer was sent in his early teens to work as a page to the wife of Lionel of Antwerp, who's Lionel, a son of the reigning monarch. So Chaucer started his life as a page or as page to the wife of a prince. The prince is called Lionel of Antwerp. He was the son of a reigning monarch, a king or a queen. He was the son of a reigning monarch. You know, a monarch is a king or a queen. Oh, it's Edward III. So he was the son of King Edward III. Sorry. Through this position, being a page, being in the royal palace, middle class Chaucer was introduced to the aristocratic society of England. He lived in a palace. In 1359, while serving in the English army when he became a soldier later in France, Chaucer was captured. He was arrested and held prisoner. King Edward III paid a £16 ransom for his release. A £16 ransom at that time was a sum that was 8 times what a simple laborer, a simple worker might make in a year. Yani this sum of money was the salary of a simple worker for 8 years. Okay, يعني a simple worker at that time used to get an annual salary of £2 only. It was a large sum of money, and this means the king paid a large sum of money as ransom for his release. In 1366, Chaucer married Philippa Pan, okay, a lady in waiting to the queen. A lady in waiting is a job at that time, which means an assistant or a helper. She was a lady in waiting. She waited on. You know, wait on, when you wait on someone, you serve him or her. This is why we call the person who serves us at the restaurant or the cafe waiter, because he or she waits on you, or he or she serves you. So, a lady in waiting to the queen. Again, in 1366, Chaucer married Philippa Pan. She was a lady in waiting. She was an assistant to the queen herself. Their eldest son, Thomas, continued his father's rise in the world, marrying Chaucer's son, marrying a noble woman and acquiring great wealth. So, the beginning, Chaucer was born to a middle class family, but the end of his life, he became more and more important, and his eldest son uh, got married to a noble woman, which gave him a higher rank than his father's. The poet Chaucer, or the poet matures, uh, Chaucer began writing in his 20s, practicing his skills as a poet as he rose through the ranks of medieval society. His early poems were based on the works of European poets. You know, many singers nowadays start their life singing songs of those who are famous. Yani if a young man wants to be a famous singer now, he starts by singing the songs of Kulthum or Abdul Halim or such famous people, and then he starts his own career, and he starts or she starts to sing their own songs. These were followed by various translations of French poetry. But Chaucer started by writing poems which were based on the works of European poets. These were followed by various translations of French poetry. Then he started to translate French poetry. His first major work, the Book of the Duchess. You know, a duchess is a rank, okay? Duke, the female of a duke, is a duchess. The Book of the Duchess, this was his first major work, was probably completed in early 1369, almost 1 year after the death of Blanche of Lancaster. He wrote this book a year after the death of Blanche of Lancaster, for whose grieving her husband lamented her death, John of Gaunt. He wrote the poem. But Chaucer wrote this poem, the Book of the Duchess, after the death of Blanche of Lancaster, okay, for her husband who lamented her a lot. As Chaucer grew older, he developed a mature style of his own and displayed a deep insight into human character, as we see in the Canterbury Tales. If we move on to page 93, the Canterbury Tales itself. Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales in his later years, at the end of his life. No one knows for certain what prompted him to begin this work, what prompted him to write it. We know what prompted him to write the Book of the Duchess, right? The death of that woman called Blanche, and how her husband lamented her. But as for the Canterbury Tales, we don't know what prompted him to begin it. Chaucer's inspiration may have come from his own participation in the pilgrimage to Canterbury. Maybe he got inspired by taking part in the pilgrimage trip to Canterbury himself. A pilgrimage is a long journey to a shrine or holy site. This is the definition of pilgrim or pilgrimage, undertaken by people who wish to express their devotion. If you want to express your devotion to God or to your religion, you visit a holy place or a sacred place or a sacred spot. The Canterbury Cathedral, in London, the largest cathedral in Protestantism is the Canterbury Cathedral. And I know that the English monarch is the head of this cathedral. Yani Queen Elizabeth II now is the head of the Canterbury Cathedral. The Canterbury Cathedral was the focus of devotion. Why? Why? At that time? Because Saint Thomas a Becket was murdered there in 1170. Again, why did people at that time went on pilgrimage to the Canterbury Cathedral? Because it was the their destination, because Saint Thomas a Becket was murdered there in this cathedral in 1170. Let's say 300 years, 300 years earlier than this. Chaucer, or than Chaucer's time. Chaucer certainly had the opportunity to observe many pilgrims starting their journeys. Why? A window of his London home overlooked the pilgrim road that led to Canterbury. Again, let's summarize this paragraph again. But nobody knows for sure what inspired him to write the Canterbury Tales. And we know that he wrote it at the end of his life. But maybe he was, let's say, involved in a pilgrimage trip himself, or maybe because he has a window which overlooked the pilgrim road that led to Canterbury. And why is the Canterbury Cathedral the destination of pilgrims at that time? Because a saint, a famous person, a religious person called Thomas a Becket was murdered there in 1170. Okay, in this masterwork, in this masterpiece, in the Canterbury Tales, each character tells a tale on the way to Canterbury. Just as the tellers of the Canterbury Tales come from the length and breadth of medieval society, different walks of life, we have the rich, we have the poor, we have the middle class, and so on. The tales encompass medieval literature, from romance to comedy, from rhyme to prose, from crude humor to religious mysteries. Only 24 of the projected 100, they planned to tell 120, but only 24 were finished. Okay, but they stand together as a complete work. They are enough to give us a complete work and a masterpiece. The father of English poetry. The father of English poetry. We said that Geoffrey Chaucer is known as the father of English poetry. And let me remind you again why, because this is an important question, because he was the one who created the heroic couplet. What's the heroic couplet? It's two rhyming lines. You know that a couplet is two lines, couplet. Two rhyming lines with five, let's say, stressed syllables. He was the one who innovated, or he was the one who innovated this innovation. And along with many other achievements, as the book said, he is considered the father of English poetry. In his own lifetime, Chaucer was considered the greatest English poet, the greatest English poet, recognized as a shrewd storyteller, an able one, a good one. Okay, he was also praised by a contemporary as the first to, this is a good line, rain the gold dewdrops of speech and eloquence, which means he was fluent, he was eloquent, his mouth was raining let's say, the gold dewdrops, or the gold dewdrops, sorry, of speech and eloquence into English literature throughout, Kareem,
لا سوري بالغلط مستر.
no problem, throughout, okay, throughout history, new generations of poets writing in English have studied his work for both inspiration and insight. Yani, let's say Shakespeare, who came about 200 years later, even Edgar Allan Poe himself said that he was influenced by the writings of Geoffrey Chaucer and many other English, even J.K. Rowling. You know J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter writer. She told in an interview, she told the interviewer that she was influenced by the writings of Geoffrey Chaucer. Okay, so again, throughout history, new generations of poets writing in English have studied his work for both inspiration and insight. Chaucer lies buried in Westminster Abbey. An abbey is like a monastery, or a place where monks and nuns lived. Okay, Chaucer lies buried. His body is buried in Westminster Abbey in recognition of his unique position in England's literary tradition. Westminster's honorary burial area for distinguished writers. There is a place now for distinguished writers. The Poets' Corner, it's called the Poets' Corner, was established around his tomb. Okay, yani, when they wanted to make a specific place for famous writers, they made it around Chaucer's tomb because he is considered the father of English poetry, as we said again and again. So this was established around his tomb. The words in Middle English at the right, these words, the right of the page here, this part, are from Chaucer's poem Troilus and Cresside, or Cressid. They are not on his tomb, but they serve to measure both his distance from us and his closeness to us. Let's have a look at these middle or medieval English words. As you see, the spelling is different. E, no, eek, maybe ye is you, no. I'm not sure what it means. That in form of speech is change, maybe. See how the spelling was different at that time. And this is the language in which he wrote his books. Within, see how within is spelled. 1,000 year, see how year is spelled. And words. Maya has joined us. Maya. Okay. That hadden, prize or praise. Now wonder, nice. Maybe this is nice and strange. Us think him, and yet they speak. Maybe spake him. So see how different medieval English was written. The last page of today's lesson is his sharp eye for dress. In the Canterbury Tales, Chaucer describes the characters and the clothes of 30 different colors. Okay? The 30 pilgrims. Do you dress to impress? You know this famous word. Guys, do you dress to impress or for success? Can you answer me about yourselves? Let me ask Ahmed Daharoub. Ahmed, are you following up? Do you dress to impress? Yani, do you take care of your clothes? Do you want other people to like your clothes and praise you? Say, wow, you're wearing a nice jacket or expensive shoes or such stuff? Do you consider this stuff when you buy your clothes or when you put on your clothes, Ahmed?
No.
No, you don't care about how you look?
Yes.
Okay. Let's have Hamid, Mr. Hamid. I haven't heard from you for a long time. Hamid. Hamid? Hamid, are you there? طيب, Hamid is not here. Danielle? Danielle, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, Mr.
Do you dress to impress?
No.
No? You don't take care or much care of how you look, or you don't care what people say about your clothes, or?
Not always. Not always.
Okay. A third gentleman, Omar. Mr. Omar.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you dress to impress?
No.
You don't take much care of your clothes or how you look, or? No? Who does? Which gentleman does? I ask the gentleman. Who does, guys? Mr. Rashwan?
I mean,
Okay. Okay, Omar, go on. Wait, Rashwan.
I mean, I dress for myself, like,
But
for
you
not
don't feel
anybody's
happy
opinion.
when other people say, wow, you're dressing, or you're wearing, sorry, a nice jacket or a nice shirt or a nice t-shirt or such stuff?
Other people's opinion doesn't matter.
Okay. Thank you. Rashwan?
ايوه يس
Aywa, yes. Go ahead.
Mr. I dress to impress myself, not so the people.
So all the gentlemen who participated, the 4 gentlemen who participated, dressed to impress themselves, not others. What about the ladies? What about the ladies?
Mr.
I want the ladies
I
to
wanted
don't...
to say that,
Maya?
Mr. I've been trying to join the session, but the internet has been
Yes,
kicking me
you
out.
joined again and again. Thank you. No problem.
Yes.
I understand this. When
Mr.
people...
May I answer?
Wait, this is Kiki coming back to us. Kiki is here. Okay, this is Lucia, I think.
No, Salma. It's Salma.
Salma's voice. Okay, Salma, go ahead. Do you dress to impress Salma?
It depends on the occasion. Sometimes when meeting new people, first impression matters. And in other occasions, for example, like job interview, for example, first impression matters in these occasions. So you have to dress to impress. Because like look matters in these certain occasions.
So
but if I'm going out with friends, it doesn't matter to me.
But your friends' opinions don't matter.
Like I dress for myself, like not to impress them.
Okay, thank you very much. Another lady. Where is Jana Sobh? I haven't heard your voice for ages, Jana. Can you hear me, Jana? Summers.
Yes, Miss.
What's your opinion? Are you following up?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you dress to
No,
impress?
Mister, I don't. No, I don't dress to impress someone, yani.
Never.
For myself.
Never.
No.
Yani if you're going to a wedding party, for example, you know, most of the girls or the ladies try
No,
to
okay,
look
wedding,
their best.
okay, ماشي.
Look their best. Why do they try to look their best? To impress other people. To impress.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Another opinion? Another lady, one last lady who's ready? Let's take this
أنا يا
second
مستر
girl.
هانيا.
Okay, Hania, no problem.
إيه؟
Go ahead.
Okay. لا, honestly, I don't care خالص. I don't dress to impress anyone. بصراحة.
Never.
Never.
You know, ladies, I heard that ladies get dressed to, let's say, يعني, impress ladies, not gentlemen. Yani, we gentlemen think that ladies get dressed well to impress gentlemen. But I heard that ladies get dressed to impress ladies. Am I right, or is this right? I need another opinion.
Maybe.
Mr. Majority of the ladies just wear to impress ourselves.
Yeah.
Not really to
بالظبط. We
impress
don't care.
anyone.
So,
we don't care about
Yes,
other
yeah.
people's opinions as long as we care about ourselves. That's it.
So
Of course.
Hania and Jana think that ladies get dressed well just to impress themselves or for themselves only. Is there another opinion from the ladies? Maya, go ahead.
Yes. هو it's not always like dressing for yourself. Like sometimes you really want to impress people
Yes,
because like
you are honest.
of
Thank
course
you.
other people's opinions matter. Like
Yes.
even if we say they don't, they do matter.
Yes. Okay. So this is a balanced opinion, in my opinion. Yeah. Yani most of the time, sometimes you get dressed well to impress yourself, but not always. Don't say that you only get dressed well to impress yourself only, and you don't care about others' opinions. Okay. Thank you very much for your opinions. Let's see how, because we have about 9 minutes before the end of the session. Let's see how Mr. Sorry. Mr. Geoffrey Chaucer describes dress. Medieval dress codes in the 14th century, rules dictating style depended on whether you were rich, middle class, or poor. If you were poor, you weren't allowed to get dressed the way the middle class get dressed or the way the rich people get dressed. No one below the rank of knight could wear fur. This is one of the rules. If you were below the rank of a knight, you weren't allowed to wear fur. Okay? يبقى at least to wear fur at that time, you needed to be a knight. For example, merchants were lower than knights. At that time, although merchants were rich, very rich, but they weren't allowed to wear fur. Could wear the same clothes as knights only if they were 5 times wealthier. Hello, if you were a merchant at that time, you weren't allowed to wear fur. Why? Because the rank of the merchant at that time was much lower than the rank of the knight type. If I were a merchant and I want to wear fur, there is one condition. You must be 5 times richer or wealthier than a knight. Can you imagine it? Do you understand it? Okay. Type. The merchants, can you understand it, guys? Is it okay? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So a merchant, again, a merchant, although being rich, wasn't allowed to wear fur at that time. If you want to wear fur, you need to be 5 times wealthier than a knight. And women were forbidden from wearing silk head coverings at that time. If you want to wear a silk scarf on your head, this wasn't allowed at that time. We have 2 rules here, 2 dress codes rules. Remember them. In the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, Chaucer relies on the details of the pilgrims' clothing and a general knowledge of the do's and don'ts of fashion laws to reveal their personalities, positions on the social ladder, okay, the hierarchy, and attempts at modesty or deception. So, modest dress, the knight's coarse tunic, coarse means harsh or tough. The knight's coarse tunic, the Chaucer's knight, one of the characters is a knight, and he was dressed in a coarse tunic, okay, stained and dark. It was stained, like dirty and dark. Could have fooled fashion watchers into believing he was without rank. Although he was a knight, and knights at that time were well dressed, but Chaucer's knight, the knight in the story, wasn't that well dressed. Yet knights were members of the nobility and were allowed to adorn themselves with fur and gold. They were allowed at that time to decorate themselves with, or their bodies or their clothes with fur and gold. Okay, another example, pleasure loving. A Franklin, used to be a job, a member in good standing of the top tier of the 14th century hierarchy. So a Franklin was a rich person, was a pleasure-loving fellow. This is one of the characters, a pleasure-loving fellow. This landowner carried a little purse of silk that Chaucer aptly describes as white as morning milk. Again, he was carrying a little purse made of silk, which means it's expensive, but maybe it was white as morning milk, maybe it has no money. The wife of Baths, this is one of the most important characters, and we're going to study her story. Flowing mantle, she's wearing, let's say, a big or loose mantle, a loose piece of clothing. Hid her large, her handkerchiefs were finely woven, her stockings were of the finest scarlet thread, and her shoes soft and new. Her clothing revealed her as a member of the middle class. So the way she was dressed revealed that, tell us that she was a member of the middle class. The last example we have here, clothing that suits the profession. If we look at the four people here, this is the doctor, okay? And this is the knight. Franklin, the landowner, and the wife of Bath. As you can see, her clothes are relatively loose, not tight. Okay, she was dressed finely. As for the doctor was dressed in red. It has some relation to blood. You know, doctors see blood very often, and a doctor in the group was adorned alarmingly in blood red garments. He was dressed in a red garment or red clothes lined with taffeta. You know, taffeta is color, okay? Almost as if we were advertising his profession. Yani he is dressed in red to say that I'm a doctor. My hands are always in blood. Yet Chaucer wrote that the doctor watched every cent and was rather close as to expenses. Chaucer tells us that he was, let's say, penny pincher. You know what a penny pincher does? A penny pincher is a person who is careful about how he or she spends her money. Bottom line, the lesson we want to learn here, no matter what you wear or when you live, your clothes say a lot about who you are, where you fit, and what you aspire to be. And this is the end of today's session. Tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to start the prologue. Okay, the prologue, and we're going to study some vocab. So today we studied from page 90 to page 94, which I think makes 5 pages. Okay, this issue is important for the exam. Please, if you were following up all the session, you understand everything, you need just to go through it once only, and that's it. If you weren't following up, please you can watch the video on SMS later. I will upload it soon, or you can study it from the book again. Any question before I end the session, because we still have a minute and a half? Any question, guys?
No, thank you.
Welcome. Ahmad Matar wants to join. Type, you can leave. Thank you very much.
Mr.
Yes.
لا مستر I'm in the session now.
Mr.
Okay, Ahmed, امال ايه انت كان بقول لي احمد wants to.
لا ده كنت بالايباد بس
طيب،
خلاص الحصه
okay.
خلصت.
That's very bad, Ahmed. Okay. Yes. A lady.
Mr. Are you continuing the novel?
Yes, sure. Yes, we're going to do the novel. We're going to start book 2 later this week, inshallah. Okay. Another question? Any other question? Okay, thank you. You can leave. Open the session. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.